Hello, everyone, and welcome. And today we have a great conversation we're going to have with one of our frontline people in our fight against the COVID virus and keeping us all safe. And I consider these very brave individuals. I am Karen Bernardi with the Bernardi Group at Coldwell Banker here in beautiful Boulder, Colorado, and we work the surrounding areas, of course, selling homes. And normally I do these interviews for people that are do homegrown businesses. But at this time, I just really felt like it was so important to have someone that is really deeply involved with what we have going on in our state right now and across the country and throughout the world. So today we have a firefighter with us today. And I know her on a personal level and have always admired her and thought how fascinating that this lovely lady and woman is a firefighter. And Jen Trask
Yeah.
is a firefighter here in Colorado. And so, Jen, tell us a little bit about you and how old you are and your family, if you will, just a little bit. And, how did you become a firefighter? And wow.
Yeah, thanks. Just real quick, I was born and raised in Golden. So I've been in Colorado since I was about 6, so I know the state very well. Um, and then I went to college, got my bachelor's degree, thought I was going to go the med school route, and I traveled a little bit and kind of found, I guess, myself, as cheesy as that sounds, but I kind of found myself a little more and decided to take a different route. So I got my EMT first and then did volunteer firefighting for a little while, which then landed me a career job. So I've worked at as my career for 3 years as a paid firefighter. I work in the North area, so you know, I know the area very well. I also live in North Glen, so yeah, that's kind of, my parents are still living in Golden. Both my sisters just moved to Bend, Oregon, so they're no longer close to me, which is a bummer. But yeah, that's kind of just a quick little bio on me.
Oh, good for you. Now, how did so you kind of fell into the fire department thinking, I mean, was an EMT and may as well go to this, like run into burning buildings as other people are running out. Is that?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because there is a misconception that there's, firefighters and they do firefighting, and then EMT and paramedics do the medicine. But at almost every department in the United States, really. I mean, there's still some that are separate, but especially in Colorado, your firefighters that you see out and about are also going to be medical personnel. So, just for those of you who don't know, a firefighter is at least an EMT is the requirement. And then, if someone chooses, they can go to paramedic school and be a paramedic. So, every firefighter you see, especially in the Denver metro area, is a firefighter as well as medical personnel.
That is
So that's how I
amazing.
kind
So,
of started. Yeah. So when I got my EMT, I was interested in the medicine side and then kind of fell into the fire side. And I just love both. So it's the best of both worlds for me, really.
well, that is quite a statement there. I hadn't thought of firefighting as the best of both worlds, but oh, bless you,
Yeah.
girl, for
For
doing
some
it.
people.
Bless you for doing it. I just think
Thank
it's
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
So I know that one of the things during the COVID virus is that when someone is having trouble breathing, when they're having a problem, the first thing they do might be call 911, and you come. The fire
Yeah.
department comes.
Yes. That's
And tell
correct.
us what that's like for you now.
Well, so when this whole thing started, and we didn't really quite know much about it, we were having so I specifically went on a call where the person may have had it. But at the time, it was such a new thing that there were no protocols in place as far as special PPE, um, and just how we were running these calls. Like we didn't know, and we didn't know that this was a suspected case when we got there, and it was a very serious call. So there wasn't really any time to even think about it, to be honest, which is how we would normally operate. Like someone's very sick, we're going to do what we can and not I mean, this whole COVID thing has given us a extra thing to think about, which is pretty stressful. But back to that call, at the end of the day, we heard that it was someone who was a suspected COVID. And we were told, that as a crew, we would maybe have to quarantine. Like, we didn't know, like, would we get tested? And I mean, this was the very beginning of all of this stuff, especially in the Denver area. So my department
So
had
this
no
was
idea
like
how to do it.
January or something.
I think like maybe early February, but yeah,
Mhm.
very early stages. And actually there had been no cases in Denver yet, like that
Okay.
we know. So this was really fresh for us. And it turned out the person didn't have it, which was great, but like at that moment, I think my department and then other fire departments in the state and in this area were like, okay, we need to put special protocols in place and do things that we've never even thought about doing. So now, every call, and our dispatch tries really hard to get an idea of, is this person, showing the symptoms or not? And it's so hard to get that stuff over the phone. I mean, our dispatchers
Mhm.
work so hard to do it, but
Especially
people
when you
really,
can't breathe, when you feel like you can't breathe and someone's trying to
right.
ask you a question.
Yeah. And so if it's a severe case and it is like we're going to someone who is having difficulty breathing, that will come across on that will show on our computer on the way to the call. And we're going to treat these people the same, more or less, than we would without this virus going on. I mean, we're going to help them breathe, basically, is what it comes down to. The only difference now is that we are going in there with masks and eye protection and gloves, which we always wear, but masks and eye protection are kind of a new thing. Like, we usually don't go into people's homes with masks. I mean, there's really no need to, but now with just this virus going on, we are now wearing masks on every single call. Interacting with people, we're wearing a mask, whether or not they're showing symptoms, because now we've learned that they may not be. So if we go on a call and someone broke their leg, we're still going in there with a mask and everything, because they could, end up having it or not. And so now we're just under the assumption that everyone has it and we're just wearing the full protective equipment that we have been
Well,
issued.
yes, and you want to, of course, protect them from
Yeah.
you in case
Exactly.
by any chance you might have it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
So
kind of just how we're approaching these
does it
calls. And
feel like a scarier time for you right now, or is
um,
firefighting kind of always nerve-wracking? It would be for me.
um, I would say honestly, for the first couple weeks when it was all new and we didn't know a lot about it, it was a little stressful to go to work and, to have to worry about remembering a mask. And because, like I said, that's not normal operations for us to wear a mask around everyone. So, having to carry the extra equipment and just kind of worry about, okay, how can this really spread? Now that we have seen a lot of cases, well, some cases, and have a better understanding, so we think of how it spreads, it's not become a little more relaxing. That's not the right word, but I'm definitely not as stressed out about it, because we've taken the right steps, I think, into just trying to protect our people and then the patients themselves.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. So, what is your assessment? I mean, do you have any of cases kind of gone down? I mean, just in your, the calls
Yeah.
happening, have they been a little bit less recently?
Yes. So, again, the first maybe mm, 3 weeks, I would say I noticed the hospitals being much busier, with people who were sick. Unfortunately, I mean, they're not testing everyone. So at this point, it's if they have flu-like symptoms or difficulty breathing or any like GI issues, they're so we take them to the emergency room. And a lot of the hospitals that I transport to, so in the North area, they're not testing people unless these people get admitted into an ICU, which basically means like they are really struggling to breathe, or
Mm.
they're really sick and it's not just a quick emergency room visit for 3 4 5 hours. So a lot of people are coming in and out of the hospitals with a cold or flu-like symptoms or GI issues, and they're being sent home because they don't need any more medical intervention, and they may have it, they may not, but they're not getting tested. So I think at first we were busier, the hospitals were busy, but it has really slowed down. And the hospitals that I am transporting to have actually seen a big decrease in patients,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, right? It is good. Um, the problem is it's almost slowed down to the point that they're starting to lay off these frontline workers, the nurses and doctors, because now the hospital's struggling to keep up now that the economy has taken such a crash. So
Well, yeah, and if you
it's kind
burn
of a
yourself
vicious
on the,
cycle.
yeah, if you have a little injury now that you might have gone to the emergency room for, you might not go now
Yeah.
because you're
And that's,
afraid of getting something.
yeah. And that's another thing I think people are scared to go, which makes sense. And then there's other people who are scared to go, but actually do need to go. And I mean, they aren't struggling with a COVID problem. They're struggling with these other health problems or like a serious injury. But you
Yeah.
can tell they're hesitant about going. And it's like, well, sometimes you just have to go to the emergency room. And that's just the way it is. We've tried to talk a lot of people, not talk them out of going. That's not the right way to say it. But if someone calls us because they're sick and they're concerned they have it, I mean, we can't test them at their house. So we advise that if they are not having difficulty breathing and they feel like they can stay home, then they should stay home because they don't want to be bringing that stuff. I mean, even more of it to the hospital. Or if they do just have a cold, they don't want to go to the emergency room and then get it. So it's it's kind of been interesting to, I mean, we do leave a lot of people home who we think it's appropriate to stay home, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I've known of a few people that have had it.
Hmm.
I certainly wasn't exposed to them, but they've had it. I've talked to them on the phone, that kind of thing. And they've just stayed home.
Yeah,
They've
which is
called
the
the
best
doctor. The
thing.
doctor said, just stay home, until you can't breathe and then call us.
And that's the best thing to do. I mean, to be honest, I mean, according to the news and also what I've seen, the number of severe cases are really not that high. For people who have like asthma and um, heart issues and previous medical history, and then they get this, they might be pretty sick. But the people that I have gone to, most of them are minor cases, to be honest. Like they
Mhm.
feel like crap, they've got a fever, they don't feel well, but they're not having difficulty breathing. I think I mean, it's hard to remember, but I think I've really only had two or three of my patients who have been like more on the severe side, but not like to the point where, um, as far as I could tell, they were going to like die from it. But they did have a very high fever that needed medical intervention, or they did have some difficulty breathing. But at
Mhm.
least in the area that I work in, it definitely, I have not seen that many severe cases, which is good. I mean,
Oh, it's really good. And we just thank you so much. At the Bernardi Group, we've been sending, like pizzas and,
nice.
desserts or whatever to the different firehouses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did you get one yet at your firehouse?
We've gotten tons of treats, tons
Okay.
of
Is
like
it too
fake
much or
food.
is it helpful?
No, it is helpful. I know the other stations around me have gotten, like one of our stations got like Olive Garden one day and then they got pizza another day. We've gotten pizza before and it is totally helpful. I mean, we'll, we're able to have time to feed ourselves anyway, but it is so nice when, the citizens come out and support us, whether it's a pizza or, donuts or like a letter. We don't care, but it is nice to be
Oh,
appreciated
it
and
is.
free food
I
is always
hope,
nice, right?
yeah, I hope from all of this, there are so many silver linings in what has happened here.
Mhm.
And one is an appreciation maybe for each other and our, firefighters, our police officers, the doctors and nurses, and if we can keep that appreciation. So what I, want to commit to is once this is over, like trying to remember in July that you guys are going to be busy with firecracker injuries, and I should still send pizza then.
It's always appreciated, but also
Right.
not needed. I mean, it's so nice to get free food. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I get very excited when there's free donuts on the counter, you know.
Don't lie. It's all good. Well, what
Yeah.
it is that you're out there risking your lives, really,
Yeah,
for
some
us.
days, you know. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
some
I
days
don't
are
ever risk
hard to
my
keep up.
life in my job.
Yeah.
I don't ever risk my life. I don't. And I'm paid quite handsomely for it. I handle really expensive investments for people. It's their largest investment. It's their most important investment, their home, but I don't
Yeah.
risk my life. So I got to thank you and say blessings, because it's not something I'm constitutionally cut out to do. When I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, you're a firefighter. This is so super cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the support. You know, it's nice. So,
Well, we appreciate you. So if there's anything that you need from us at the Bernardi Group, if you want pizza, you want ice cream, you want Olive Garden, let us know, because
oh,
that way we support local restaurants and we support you.
oh, good. Yeah, I got to support those local restaurants,
That's
especially the
right.
ones we
That's right.
like, because we want them to stay in business when this is all over. So,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so true. It's so true. We got to really help each other here. So, hey, blessings to you,
Thank you.
and take care of yourself. I'll keep you in our prayers and our good thoughts, and you take care. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
No worries. You be brave out there because you always are. I appreciate it. Thank you. But
Thanks,
be
Karen.
safe. Be
Oh,
safe.
thanks. I'll try.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a good one.